Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Backstage Bimbo TV. My name is Allison Rouse, your most notorious groupie, and author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie, me. Hope everybody's doing fantastic as always. I'm doing great. For those of you just stumbling on the channel, I'm a long-time notorious groupie. I've got a few big names here, so you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell, because you're going to want to hear a lot of these stories. You might recognize a few names. And today, you're definitely going to recognize this name. Hint, hint. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about none other than Sex Pistols' Steve Jones. Stephen Philip Jones. Oh, I love his mercy tattoo. Every time I saw it, my knees went weak. Alright, so I've got to do this creatively because I've got to cover up the number, because this is Steve's own writing. Ooh, and stuff. This was when we actually met, and this at the Neurotic Outsiders, and this is what we're going to talk about the night we met. Then we'll get to that Toronto Hotel stuff. That's Seattle. Little Sex Pistols action. Alright, in honor of the Sex Pistols, we're going to do the cocktail called the Sex Pistols. So, recipes down in the description, guys. Real easy. Vodka Goldschlager and some cranberry juice. Pretty easy, delicious drinking. So, cheers, big ears. I do like a good vodka drink. And I'm a vodka girl. Anyway, okay. And don't forget, this is my merchandise, you guys. This is the shirt that started it all. I fucked Steve Jones, and all I got was this t-shirt. Thank God. Got a lot more. Just added a few more designs. So hit the link down in the description. Check them out if you'd like. And alright, let's get into a little Sex Pistols action, shall we, folks? Cheers, big ears. Alright, so this is, oh God, what's the date on this? This is September 30th. Oh, so close to his birthday. Well, about a month after his birthday, about a month after mine. So I was living in Vegas at the time. I had just barely come down from Seattle, of July that year, I believe. Wasn't sure what I was doing. We'll talk about that. Wasn't sure if I was going to stay. But I knew for sure I was a partying. And I'd already started hanging out at the Hard Rock Hotel at this point. That was like, I just met my best friend, cousin Amy, and she's like, yeah, we got to go hang out at the Hard Rock. It had just opened a few months before. Really awesome, cool, little, quiet hotspot. Well, I was just getting to know the security guards and VIP hosts and stuff and bartenders. And they had a restaurant in there, Mr. Lucky's, that had the best veggie burgers at the time. So one day, cousin Amy and I wander, and we were going to go to some rave she wanted to. She was only 19 years old. But at the Hard Rock, you could get wristbands that said you were 21 and over, so I would go get a wristband, sneak in the bathroom, give it to her, she'd put it on, we'd go out and party. So she was one of the few people that could actually get away with being under 21 and partying in Vegas, because they're super strict. So, anyway, we're eating at Mr. Lucky's, and it was open to the casino floors. So, one of the security guards was walking by, he's like, hey, he's like, there's this concert going on tonight, it's a kind of a super group. Duran Duran, you know, there's a guy from Duran Duran. I'm like, oh, really? Which one? You know, that got my interest because we've already been to New York City with Marie, so, you know, John Taylor was definitely up my alley. At least 3 times in New York alone. Anyway, so then he's like, yeah, it's a couple guys from Guns N' Roses. Cool, Duff and Matt. And Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols. I know I've said in a previous vlog that I thought that would be slumming. But here's the thing. I was living in Seattle, and there was this girl, Jenna, who totally fucked me over. We'll talk about the Seattle the second time. It's kind of the falling out of Kristen and I for a while. It just is life, and it happens. I love Kristen to this day. We're still friends. You're going to see her on here. So don't take this wrong. But, and she just backstabbed me so hard. And the whole year that I knew her, she would talk about Steve Jones and how she lived in LA. She had this Axl Rose tattoo, and she looked like a pear with stretch marks and a heroin problem, because she did have a heroin problem. Anyway, so she had always talked about wanting to fuck Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, that how she would lived in LA and even would go to AA meetings to try and hit on him, and how he didn't fuck her because Steve fucks a lot of just, yeah. Anyway, so even he wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. So, I thought one day maybe, to get her back, I'll go fuck Steve Jones and the Sex Pistols. Well, ding, ding, ding. Here was my opportunity. Because at the time, I wasn't living in Las Vegas permanently. I was just down for a couple months, what I was thinking, and going to go back up to Seattle, but that's not what happened. So, as a security guard comes up to Cousin Amy and I, he's giving us these tickets. Sorry, I have to cover up his number. He's giving us these tickets. Not used, obviously. But we're like, oh cool, this might be interesting. If the rave doesn't go well, then this will definitely be a good backup plan, right? No. It wasn't a backup plan. Steve Jones was a vendetta. Because I thought, well, if I go back up to Seattle and tell Miss Jana that, yeah, I fucked me some Steve Jones. Not so hard, was it, bitch? Then it would piss her off and I would just stab her in her little heart. So, Cousin Amy and I start to go to the rave. It was out in the desert before Burning Man ever existed. So it's kind of the precursor to this. So there were vans that were taking everybody out because they didn't want people drinking, driving, doing X, what you do at raves. Cousin Amy wasn't 21. You had to be 21 to go. There were cops IDing people. We turned around, hightailed it to the Hard Rock. The show had just ended. I said, well, at least, I can always, I told her about Janet and stuff. I said, at least I can always go fuck Steve Jones. See, won't be a total waste of a night. If I only knew. So, we go into the Hard Rock. And we go in the front doors where we parked in valet. Cousin Amy and I walk in. We go down the main stairs. And we always like to do a loop before we hit the bar at the center. Doing the loop. Who do I see? Steve. Hi, Steve. And he's talking to some short blonde girl in this long kind of red geisha girl, those button-down Asian dresses and stuff. Really cute girl. And I'm in this like little plaid mini skirt. Little did I know this was his fetish. Is his fetish. And some, platform, little ankle, little strappy heels, and a tied up little satin t-shirt, thing. So I'm just strutting by and I just looked right at him. I was like, And I just kept looking at him and he looked, and he had his hand up and the girl was in the corner. And he had his hand up like this, he was in some black jeans, some biker boots, and some cut-off black t-shirt. Cousin Amy looks at me, she's like, oh God, that's him? She's like, no, that's slumming. You're right, that is slumming. She's like, oh, he looks like white trash. I'm like, no, he's English. She's like, oh, well, he looks like English trash. So I just sort of laughed at her, and Steve and I, like I said, I was looking straight at him. He looked straight at me. We just didn't stop each other's, just held each other's gazes, kept looking. He saw that plaid miniskirt and ding, ding, ding. I was a winner. Yep. Then he saw my ass and he even liked that too because he's more of an ass man. He likes more of a Kardashian style body, but I'm not that hippie or curvy. So anyway, we locked eyes. I passed him and I just kind of, gave him a little smile and turned away and kept walking. We were going to go get some champagne. And as we walked by, I just happened to look over my shoulder. I thought, yeah, I'll give him one more look. Looked over my shoulder, and there he is. Come here. Hey, you, come here. Saying, come back here. Come back here. Like I said, it's just, I don't think I'm that amazingly beautiful. I was hot back then, yeah, absolutely, but my personality, my confidence, my snarkiness, and I'm a nice person. I'm just who I am, no airs, just like Steve. He's always who he is, no airs, but something attracted him, so I go over, we're talking, I introduce myself, and I tell him I'm from Seattle, and he remembered more of this conversation than I did, and it's because this was just the first night we met. You're going to hear about 5 years of Steve Jones, which, to stay in his bed 5 minutes after he's done coming is a feat on itself, so to have him keep seeing me for 5 years, there must have been something more there. A little spark, maybe? You're going to find out. Anyway, so we're talking, like I said, he remembered this conversation better than I did. And he was like, well, we should hang it out, you know, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're very sexy, baby. I'm like, no, thanks. I'm like, ding, 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 vendetta, check. Done. Had. I knew right then. I was, well, so my friend and I just got here. We're going to go grab a little bit of champagne. Guess I'll see you in a minute. He's like, all right, all right. He's like, I'm going to play blackjack, you know, so just keep an eye on me, you know, come find me in a bit. And I was like, okay, no problem. Blonde girl in the geisha girl dress was like, what's going on here? Okay. I don't know who she was. He didn't introduce us. I did not introduce myself. So anyway, Cousin Amy, I go to the center bar, run into a couple roadie friends who live in Las Vegas, and there's Matt Sorum and Duff, and everybody's talking and hanging out, and we're drinking champagne. At least Cousin Amy and I are. No one else. Most of those guys are sober, just like Steve. And I look over and I see where Steve is playing 21, and I see him, and he keeps looking over and he's waving, and the blonde girl's sitting next to him, and she's just kind of turning around like, what the fuck, you know? And I mean, I wanted Steve. There he was, ripe for the taking. I don't know, my prey was out in the open, ready to be swooped up, because he was my prey. Like I said, he was a vendetta to Jana. So, finish my first glass of champagne, grab a second one. We're still talking to Matt and everybody and the roadies. So I go over, I'm like, yeah, I've got to go to the ladies' room. I'll be back. Left my purse at the counter, actually, with Cousin Amy, which I never do. No, actually, I didn't. I had a little purse, wrist purse. So I just walked over to him. I said, hey, so what you doing? He's like, waiting for you. He's like, you want to go upstairs? I'm like, I had been there for maybe 45 minutes, an hour. Yeah. Matter of fact, I do. Because, you know, he's hot, and he was really sexy back then. I'll add some pictures at the beginning of the vlog of him when I met him. Oh, he was dirty hot. Nice barrel chest. Like I said, his Mercy tattoo. He didn't have all the tattoos down here and stuff yet. Had one on his leg, but yeah, he had a great physique. I mean, and he's a handsome man in his face as it is, and his blue eyes, and he had the rockabilly hair, you know, kind of greased back. Just looking hot. Okay, yeah, he did look kind of white trash in the black jeans and the black t-shirt. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, let's go upstairs. Didn't even walk back over and say Cousin Amy, who had actually taken ecstasy. I don't do ecstasy, it wasn't my thing, so just let her drop it, you know, before the rave. And she's just having a good time. I know she's safe in the hands of the roadies and stuff, so I just look at her, said bye. Steve grabbed my hand. Go to the elevator. And this story I haven't told yet. Elevator door opens, and there's John Taylor. He's all, hey, Steve, how you doing? And he looks at me, he's like, hey, what? And he's like, this is Allison. He's like, yeah, we've met. I'm like, hey, nice to see you. And he's like, you with him? I'm like, yeah. He's like, patted Steve on the shoulder, he's all, mate. He's like, you're in for deep shit with this one. And he's like, take care of him, be gentle. And just left us. So Steve and I get on the elevator. We go upstairs. We go to his room. He has to go to the bathroom. I'm standing on the balcony, just kind of overlooking the west side of Vegas. And all of a sudden I feel him come up behind me, and he just wraps his arm around me. And I was like, ooh, kind of like that. You know, because I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not looking for fun. But, you know, I don't even care if I know your name at this point in my life. I was 25 years old, just moving to Vegas, had just barely turned 25. Hot, single, free, made my own money, a lot of money. So I worked hard, I partied hard, and I took a lovers and chewed him up and spit him out. So that's all I was looking for with Steve. So, like I said, he was a vendetta just to get back at Jana. I wasn't sure if I was going back to Seattle or not. So he comes up behind me and just grabs his hand and starts to nuzzle my neck. And I was like, oh, spark, kind of like that. Then he turned me around and kissed me. I thought, oh lordy, I am fucked. Not because it wasn't good, but because when he kissed me, I felt like more than I'm just gonna fuck this guy once and never see him again. So I just something I felt when I kissed him that night that I knew. And I thought, oh Jesus Christ, you don't fall in love with everybody you fall into bed with. And not that I was falling in love, but I just knew, like I said, we saw each other for 5 years. And there's a whole story behind the phone number here in the Toronto hotel with him and everything that I'm going to vlog later. So anyway, yeah, he kissed me. I knew I was in deep shit. I just knew. Did our thing. Got to go to Patreon to hear about the dirty details. Go over there. Links in the description. But I'll tell you about those dirty details. If it sucked and he was tiny like a, I don't know, Vienna sausage, obviously, I would have stopped him. Wouldn't have gone back, so, intriguing. Because of course he wasn't like a Vienna sausage. I stayed. I stuck around. But anyway, so we do our thing, get down and dirty, have a good time. Cool beans. He's like, so are you going to live here? What you going to do? I'm like, I'm like, I don't know. I said, plan right now is to go back to Seattle. He's all, well, cool. He's all, well, maybe next time I'm around, you'll still be around. I said, yeah. I said, I hang out here at the Hard Rock all the time. And I think he was kind of waiting for me to give him his phone, give him my phone number. No, he gave me his phone number before I did, and that was a year into it. So, no, I think he was kind of waiting for that, because most girls would, especially in LA. Here's my number, I'm yours on a platter, pay my phone bill. Because a lot of women that he met, yeah, he did little favors for it. But anyway, so I was not one of them. Like I said, I was young and free and making a few $100,000 a year, so I didn't need anybody for anything except for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So told him, yeah, maybe I'll be here. I said, usually at the Center Bar. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, well, grabs me and kisses me again and says goodbye. And I'm like, yeah, I better get back downstairs, because he's like, you want to stay, do it again? I'm like, no. I said, I better get back downstairs. My friend's on ecstasy, and I kind of left her alone with your roadies and drummer. He was like, oh, shit. I'm like, yeah, so I'll see you later. So I just grabbed him, gave him a lingering kiss again, did a little thing on his lip, turned around and sashayed my little plaid schoolgirl miniskirt ass out of there. Went down, found Cousin Amy. She was having a good time. I mean, this is like 3 hours later. I think Steve and I were up there for 3 hours. Came back down, had a couple more glasses of champagne. I think he came down and did 21, and we talked again, because as I was leaving, and he'd come back down, and we were talking again, and he's like, all right. He's like, well, I'll be here in a few weeks. He's like, I'll look for you. Still, I think, expecting me to give him my phone number like most women would, but no, I didn't. We'll get to that story later. But that was the night I met Steve Jones. I would run into him again in the next couple of weeks, because also at the time I was getting ready to go to Japan. Cousin Amy and I had just met the agent that was sending women over to Japan. This is the time, if you watch the vlog about my stripping career, this is when we escaped the Yakuza. And I was like, yeah, but I wouldn't tell him that till the next time. No, I did tell him that night, because I was going to be gone for 3 months past Christmas, and I remember saying something like that to him. I said, yeah, I'm just getting ready to go over to Japan and dance for a few months. And yeah, God, there's so much, like, I forget about that night. Like I said, he remembers our first conversation better than I did. I was surprised that he remembered I was from Seattle, you know. But yeah, so I do remember telling him about going to Japan, that I was a stripper, and I was headed to Japan for a few months, yada yada. Oh, that's when I was leaving. That's right, when I was leaving his room. Because I was kind of making excuses. I could tell he was kind of wanting my phone number, but I was like, yeah, I said maybe. I said I'll be in Japan for about 3 months. I leave in a few weeks, so beginning of October, or mid-October, whatever. I'll be there till January, end of January. And he's like, oh, he's like, well, I come a lot, so maybe when I come back, or maybe I'll see before you go. I was like, all right, cool. Like I said, left. We talked a little bit more before I left. Cousin Amy and I went home, grabbed some late night munchies on the way at the Peppermill. Voila. Took off on a plane to Japan, escaped the Yakuza, came back. Yeah, and I'll be damned, my first night back, after getting over jet lag. Gonna have to tune in for another Cocktail and Rocktail episode to hear the second Steve Jones story. Alright, hope you like that. If you like my merchandise, follow the link down in the description. You want to buy the book? Links in the description as well. You should absolutely 100% subscribe and hit the like button because YouTube cares about that. Let's get these stories out. Get away from the stale old crap. Because there's a lot of women with a lot of new stories, a lot of awesome stories to be told, just like mine. Because I do have some awesome stories. So, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bells for some more Cocktails and Rocktails, and if you want to hear more about Steve Jones. Alright guys, have a great day.